Hey, Catherine, how you doing? Thank you so much for including your work. I've got your composite up here, but I want to address your writing first. And I think this is really important that you give this kind of written experience with the assignment because it teaches me a lot about what you're learning. So anytime you have a chance, not only in this class, but in all your classes, anytime you have a chance to give a nice written synopsis of your experience with an assignment, do so because it allows we instructors to have a very keen insight into to what you're learning, and how you're assimilating this information that we present in the learning um, uh, resources in the class and how you transpose that into actual practice. So I want to address a couple of your comments. I struggle a little with the assignment. I think that's because I'm unclear on my narrative. I disagree. I think your narrative's just fine. Specifically in your description, you're saying, what should he be reaching for? I mean, the possibilities are limitless. As long as you're telling a story, you're okay. So really, having him reaching for flowers while he's standing in a field of flowers, to me, it makes sense, right? And I do agree that it speaks on the innocence and creates this dreamy quality. And I totally agree with all that. So I disagree with your comment that you're struggling with narrative. I think it's really easy for students, especially when they first start developing narrative quality in their design work. It's really difficult to look at it and say, hey, I've developed a good narrative or I haven't. So it's really super common to look at your narrative and say, hey, is this all it could be? But in this case, I think it is. So use the pen tool, create selections using an older version of Photoshop. I would go ahead and upgrade. I mean, you've got Photoshop through, you've got a Creative Cloud through RimCAD, right? So you might as well upgrade. I mean, I don't see any reason not to, right? Adjustment layers. Okay, so you're talking about television photos, problems, a movie poster. Struggle to find and use the refine edge tools. It depends on what version you're using. So again, I highly recommend updating to the latest version. Adjustment layers seem to be more limited than the newest version of Photoshop. That I can tell you is not true. Everything that's available in 2019 has been available for a while. As far as I know, I don't know of any adjustment layers that are new specifically to 2019. So, okay, let's go ahead and jump over to the composition. Now, I think the first thing, I'm going to bring this into the window so we can see it. So that's going to entail reducing the size a little bit. So the first thing I think we notice is that there's a difference between the tonal distribution and the general appearance of the background and the baby. And this kind of points to that this is obviously a composite. Now there's some things that we can do to create more consistency between the images, the person, the place, and the thing. I think that this foreground image and the baby are beautiful. They're perfect. Well, in the extent of tonal and color distribution. The background, as you can see, is a little bit more dull. It doesn't employ the same contrast values that the foreground image employs. So for that reason, I would recommend going into the background layer and increasing the contrast through an adjustment layer. I find that a levels adjustment layer is quite intuitive in terms of increasing contrast. I think you get a little bit more control in a curves layer adjustment, but it's not quite as intuitive and it's a little bit more advanced. So you might consider starting with a levels adjustment layer to increase the contrast associated with the background. You don't want to go too much though. You want to get a nice match. Okay, the next thing I'm noticing, and I'm going to have to zoom in for this one, but I can see the selection could be refined. And again, you're talking about the refine tools, but the selection is definitely showing parts of the original background. We can see right here through the baby's head, right there on the ear. And then we come down here and we can see a little bit of white here. And let me just bring that down. A little bit of white right there on the hands. There's a little bit right there. Just you don't want any indication of the original background. Also, in this masked image of the flowers, we can see the original background from that. And we can see a little bit of that original background right over here as well. So what you want to do is you want to reselect, you want to refine this edge and work that little hole in the flowers into it. So basically what we would see is his blue shirt through the little hole in the flowers, right? That's what we would see realistically. So that's what we should see in the actual image. It's now that the closer I look at this, the more I see that, yeah, we would likely see his shirt right there. But if we didn't see his shirt, we would probably be seeing some of the flowers as opposed to whatever the original background was here. Okay, so those are my two main recommendations. So go ahead and work those issues in. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if I can provide any clarification for the comments that I've summarized in this video, please let me know. I'll be glad to do so. So, all right, great job. Again, I'm right here with any questions. So, all right, good job. Thanks for sharing.